Hello, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Split Screen Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Garcia. This is episode 3, and it's rainy and doomy and gloomy outside, which is exactly what I like to hear and see. And I bring that up for another reason. I do apologize if you can hear a little bit of rain and thunder outside. There's really not a whole lot I can do about that right now, but we've had some extremely loud thunder, and so it's been scaring the hell out of me. So I do apologize if you hear me scream or pause or something like that, if there's a giant thunder clap outside. But yeah, I hope you guys have been safe. I hope you guys have been doing well. I wish you nothing but happiness and love. I hope you've all been washing your hands, sanitizing everything, wearing a mask, getting vaccinated, all that good stuff. We're looking a lot better, and hopefully it keeps trending that way. But yeah, let's get into the Split Screen Podcast episode 3. Fun fact, this is my second time recording this. I had another episode recorded and ready to go, but I didn't like it, and I think those topics would be good to save for when I have somebody else with me. Speaking of which, Nate is busy yet again, and I hope everything's okay with him. I do apologize if you expect another guest other than just me. I know I can be annoying sometimes, but please, just bear with me here. You might end up liking me, or who knows, I might just completely screw it up and you might end up hating me. But let's find out together. So we have a couple of different topics today, some fun ones. At least I think, in my opinion, nothing too serious. It's just kind of general questions, and one of them is comparing, and you might say that we might not compare them very well. Who knows? I'd love to hear your arguments. But the first one is we're going to compare simulation-style sporting games to arcade-style sporting games. So simulation sporting games, when I bring that up, I mean like, NFL Madden, NHL, the EA Sports titles, also MLB The Show, NBA 2K. There's a lot of sporting games out there. I think there might be a cricket game, FIFA, and I'm sure there's other ones. I don't know, tennis, golf, PGA Tour, all those games. We're going to be kind of looking at a comparison between those and games like NFL Blitz, NHL Hits, MLB Slugfest, NBA Jam, NBA Street, NFL Street. I don't know if I'm going to throw in Mario Golf or any of the Mario sporting games, since those involve like items and things like that, as opposed to the other games where it's actually based on real life players and teams. So I think I'll leave those out, but you kind of get the idea. And this is going to be a little bit of a shorter episode since I'm by myself. I don't really have anybody to kind of talk to and argue with in person. And the other topic is going to be, should we listen to game critics? And this is a genuine question. I'm not going to give you a yes or no answer. I'm not really going to say what I do. Well, I mean, I might. I don't know. It depends. But it's just, should we listen to them? Why would we listen to them? And things of that nature. So the first topic, I guess we'll just get straight into it. So we're going to be comparing simulation sports games with arcade sports games. And to me, I have a preference, and I'm going to ask for your preference when I'm done speaking on this topic. But for me, I've always preferred the arcade style. I like simulation, but I've just had more fun playing the arcade style. Just to kind of give you a comparison, if you've never played any of those, like a Madden versus NFL Blitz when those were still around. So like a simulation type game like Madden and NHL and The Show, etc., FIFA, those games kind of are trying. They try to be as realistic as possible. The physics, the way the game looks, the way the game plays and feels, the way the characters move and the characters. Wow, the way the players move. Yeah, LeBron James is a character. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. Along with Patrick Mahomes, he's a really good character. He's one of my favorite characters in the Madden series. So and I'm glad he's gonna be a character in future installments. I'm excited to see where his story goes, and his character development has been really good. So, but you know what I mean. The simulation style games, they try to make everything as realistic as possible without having to watch a real game. You can do a lot of things with these simulation games, and what I've noticed is there's a lot more game modes than an arcade style game, and this is a little bit different nowadays because the arcade style games like NFL Blitz, MLB Slugfest, NHL Hits, NBA Jam, all those were coming out basically every year like Madden does now, and they would do roster updates, but those games were coming out in the early 2000s, and so they basically died off. You don't see a lot of you don't see any really NFL Blitz games being released anymore. I think the last one might have been 2012 or 13. Unfortunately, I believe Matt Castle was the Chiefs quarterback at the time. I think that was the last sporting game that might have come out outside of maybe NBA Jam, and I'm not sure what the release date on that was, but that was on my Xbox 360. So it was, I don't want to say fairly recent, but it wasn't forever ago either. So it's just, all those games kind of died off, as opposed to these simulation style games that are released every single year. So it's kind of interesting to think about that. So when I say that these simulation style games have more game modes, I think that if the arcade style games were still around, they would probably have more game modes as well. Maybe even an ultimate team. I'm not sure how they would go about that nowadays, but it would be interesting to see, and I'm hoping that they bring those games back. Since, as far as I know, at least as far as the NFL, they don't have the exclusive rights anymore, so I think other game studios can make NFL games as well. I think, from what I read, they can't be the simulation-style games that the Madden is. So take that as you will. If that means another Blitz might be released or something along those lines, who knows? I'm hoping that's the case, but I could be wrong. I might be getting my hopes up for nothing. But like the simulation games have game modes like franchise mode. MLB The Show has Road to the Show. They have a lot of Ultimate Team game modes. Some games have where you can replay a historic moment in the history of the game. They have game modes where you can just start in the playoffs and you can make your own playoff brackets. And they have holiday-themed events. I remember Madden NFL, whatever the order is, they had a Halloween event with where like the players were like giganto players, and they were called monsters, I think. So it's just interesting. And if you want the more realistic style gameplay, where you can draw up your own plays, I think you might have been able to do that in the last Blitz. I'm not sure. But you can draw up your own plays. There's game modes where you can just play as the coach, I believe. You can trade players and do free agency. There's the draft, etc. There's a lot of things you can do in the simulation style games, and they keep adding more game modes, and it's pretty cool. I haven't bought one since Madden 20, since Patrick Mahomes was on the cover. I mean, how am I not going to buy that, right? So, do you like simulation style games? Let me know. Arcade style, if you've never played one, those are more over the top, more physical, no penalties basically, no fouls. You can basically do and play the game however you want and do whatever you want. There's usually less players on the field. Normal simulation football, just like real football, has 11 on 11. NFL Blitz, I think, was 7 on 7. NHL, I don't know the exact amount of players in the rink at once, but I think it's 4v4 on NHL Hits. MLB Slugfest, I never played, so I'm not sure. I would assume they have the same amount. NBA Jam is usually just like a 2-on-2 matchup. So, smaller scale, smaller arenas, smaller fields, a lot more fast-paced. Usually, from what I've played, you can make your own plays, but, I mean, the plays that they have now are just usually good enough because you're going to be chucking the ball like 80 yards down the field. like NFL Blitz, they have no penalties that you can. The only thing that you can't do is be offsides at the start of the play because it physically will not let you cross the line of scrimmage. And so, but I mean, you can do late hits in that game. There's like wrestling takedowns you can use. MLB Slugface, you can hit people if you have the ball in your hand, you can hit people off the base and tag them out, and you can throw it all the way from left center to home plate and get somebody out. It was just ridiculous. The plays that you can do in those games are just so over the top and hilarious to see. And when you have 2-on-2, like two of your friends against you and another friend of yours, wow, I don't know why I said that. It's just all-out mayhem, and it's probably the most fun that I've ever had playing a sports game. And it's funny how intense it can be. Nate and I were playing just one-on-one, and oh my gosh, we were getting so loud. It was just such a fun time. It was definitely up there with my top 5 sports games moments. And I mean, other than that, I mean, outside of it not being super realistic, it's just a lot of fun. If you want that, like I said, if you want fast-paced, over-the-top, superhuman plays, then arcade style is going to be the way to go. So it just depends on what kind of game do you want to play. Do you want to play something realistic that feels like you're watching something like an actual sporting event on TV, or do you want something more fast-paced and over the top? And I know I use that a lot, but that's basically the way to describe it. I mean, outside of that, you can use cheats on the arcade style game, like big heads and infinite turbo, and you can make the weather conditions a certain condition. And that was a cheat, by the way, that you had to type in. I know you can adjust the weather on things like Madden, but on games like NHL Hits and NFL Blitz, you would have to enter in a cheat code to be able to play in rain or snow or whatever. That's kind of interesting to think about too, how it used to be a cheat and now it's just something you can adjust. And really, cheats aren't around anymore, now that I think about it. Is there games nowadays that you can just type in a code and you'll turn on like big head mode or something, or green blood like Turok used to be or something? I don't know. Let me know. And outside of that, there was some surprise guest characters on certain games. Like, I remember on NHL Hits, you can play as like pirates or something, and the rinks that you can play in on NHL Hits were really weird too. They had one in like Area 51, they had one on the moon, they had one on a pirate ship, they had one at an army base outdoors. It was really funny to see. There was one in like a disco. It was just extremely weird and just ridiculous to see what environments you can play in. But NFL Blitz, they had like concrete fields and dirt fields, and they had the usual grass, and they had blacktop, and it's like, that's like, who would ever play football on blacktop, first off? Anyway, and then like I said, you can have guest characters you can play as, like Raiden from Mortal Kombat and Shinnok from Mortal Kombat. You could play as them in NFL Blitz. You would have to type in their names, and then it would put Raiden's head on like a Chiefs player's body as the quarterback, or whoever had the ball, really. I don't know. It's just a little more lighthearted, a little more not so serious game. So it depends on what you want, really. So do you prefer, I'm going to pass the question on to you, do you prefer simulation sports games, realistic? Do you like that realistic look and feel and atmosphere? Or do you like something a little more lighthearted and over the top and not so serious? One where you can just throw the ball 90 yards, make a diving play, and then carry a dude or drag a dude by your jersey 10 more yards into the end zone and score a touchdown. Yeah, I mean, what do you prefer? Let me know. And I forgot to do this at the very beginning. My apologies. You can let us know your opinions and suggest topics for the show that you might want us to go over, ask us questions, anything, on our social media pages. We're on Facebook, Split Screen Podcast, and we're on Twitter and Instagram. Both of those are Split Screen KC. So you can let us know if you prefer simulation or arcade-style sports games. Let us know. There's a tiny little bird by the window, and he's staring at me as I record this. Oh, okay, he flew away. No, here he comes. Okay, whatever. Let us know on our social media pages. Split Screen Podcast, Twitter, Instagram, Split Screen KC. We're going to take a short break here. We're going to be back with the topic, should we listen to game critics? And we're going to go over just kind of my thoughts on what I do when it comes to game critics, and I'd love to hear your opinions on the subject of, do you listen to game critics? Why and why not? So stick around. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to episode 3 of the Split Screen Podcast. If you're just tuning in, I don't know how that would work, but anyway, if you're just tuning in, I am Chris Garcia, aka KC Chris G. I'm glad to have you with us. And we're going to move on to the second topic. Should we listen to video game critics? Well, that's a good question, Chris. I'm glad you asked. I don't know. I don't have an answer. I don't have a definitive answer. This is kind of an opinion-based question. I'd love to know your opinion and your thoughts on our socials. Well, let's go over, what is a video game critic? Well, it's someone who critiques video games. Duh. To go more in-depth, sometimes they get the game early. Usually they do. Games like or websites such as IGN, GameSpot, Games Radar, Kotaku, Eurogamer. They review the games. They get the games early. They get to play them early. They play through the campaign. They play some multiplayer, etc. They explore everything, and they critique a lot about the game. They go over character customization options, gameplay, features, storyline aspects, character development, story direction, gunplay if that's involved, just anything in the game they review. And so it's just, should we listen to these people though? Honestly, I don't really listen to game critics. I watch reviews, I read reviews, but do I let that sway me to buy a game or not? Not really, no. I watch gameplay after the game has come out usually, unless I'm like 100% sure that I'm probably going to enjoy the game when it comes out and when I buy it. I usually buy it day of, but if it's a game that I'm not really sure about, one of those being Outriders, I didn't download that until maybe a week after it came out, and then I saw gameplay and thought, it looked pretty decent, I'll try it out. I watched reviews on it, but it didn't let me sway if I was going to download it or not. Also, that game being on Game Pass on launch day, that was pretty clutch, I'm not going to lie. Anyway, but the reason I don't let them sway my opinion on a game is for a few reasons, actually. But I mean, I know some reviewers have gotten paid to review a game in a positive light, just like how people get paid off in basically every occupation, politics, other lines of work. The biggest example I can think of is politics, obviously, but I mean, people have been paid off to put games in a positive light in magazines and video reviews and on websites. I'm not going to name who. I'm sure you can find articles if you just simply Google it, but people have been paid off before, and when the game did come out, it was either just kind of okay or it was just not well received with players. So that kind of brings up the question, how do we know if someone was paid to write a review in a certain way? Probably not going to know as often as we should. I guess maybe you would have your suspicions if they gave the game a good review and then you ended up just hating it, and it was probably universally hated. But other than that, it's going to be hard to tell unless it's just blatantly obvious. But another thing is sometimes the review can be a little ridiculous. And when I say that, I mean, I've seen some reviews on games. I'm not going to name what reviews they are, and I'm not going to name who did the review or what website. You can Google all this by yourself. I'm not going to point fingers and call people out. It's just not how I am unless they really, really deserve it. But I've seen some reviews where they don't like a message that maybe the game was trying to get across. And I mean, I get it. You buy a game to get away from things, but It's also, I guess you could say, a form of art, a game is. And art is about expressing yourself, right? And sometimes art tries to send a message across. Can you blame them? I don't think so. You don't have to agree with the message. That's okay. Hey, and if you do, then that's great. Maybe, depending on the message and depending on your views on things. But it's just interesting to see people will not, like the review I saw, the message that the game was trying to send, they didn't agree with it, so they gave the game a negative, well, not a negative score, but they put that against the game, and they held it against the game's score overall. They were mad about the message more than the game sending a message, if that makes sense. The way some characters were used and depicted in the games, they didn't really like it, and they tried to, and I think it was mostly satire that the game was trying to portray it as, but I don't think they understood that, and they used that against the score. I don't know your thoughts on it. Maybe you have a different view on that. Let me know. And then there's just this is one that I will call out, and I'm not sorry, because it's been panned, and it's still funny to this day. When Pokemon was reviewed and they said there was too much water. Really? Too much water? And then what's next? I don't know. Legend of Zelda, too much grass. Too many swords in the game. I don't know. That's just a little ridiculous to me. I don't know, one, how that got approved to be put a part of the review, and two, who thought that was a good idea to even submit that to be approved. It was just, I was laughing so hard when I read that article, and I saw the review, and I watched the video, and I remember when it became a meme, and oh my gosh. But it's just things like that make me lose trust in people reviewing games. I know there's people out there who are speaking their 100% honest opinion, not paid off, and taking everything into account, and that's great. Good for them. We need more people like that. Right now, I think the thing that everybody needs to do is just get the game and play it for yourself. Watch gameplay. If you don't like the way the gameplay looks, don't get it. It's as simple as that. Maybe a friend has it. Borrow a copy for a little bit, play the game, and then maybe buy it and review it yourself. I just haven't taken a video game review from a video game website seriously in a very long time. I did when I was younger, and then as I got older, I figured out maybe I should just figure things out for myself. And this is off topic, but remember, I don't know if anybody remembers this, but I remember when G4 would do reviews, and I was glued to the screen when that channel was still around, before they just started showing Cops and an American Ninja Warrior all day. But G4 would go to E3, I remember, and they would cover everything, and I was so excited. I remember, and I was off school by then, and summer break, and I would get up at like 8 in the morning and watch all the presentations, and man, was it a good time. Things are different obviously now, but I don't know if G4 is making a comeback or not. I heard they are. I'm not sure. Hopefully they show more than Cops though. Anyway, do you listen to video game reviews? Do you watch or listen to or read video game reviews? Why or why not? Has a game review ever swayed your opinion and convinced you or not convinced you to buy a game or not buy a game? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your opinions on the matter. And I think that's it for today, guys. Honestly, I think I'll leave it on that note. So, first question is, do you prefer simulation or arcade-style sports games? Do you play sports games at all? Why? Or why not? And then, have you bought games that have been reviewed before just because of the reviews? Or did you avoid buying a game because of a review? And do you read or watch video game reviews? Why and why not? I'd love to hear your thoughts and your opinions on the matter. But I think that's going to be it for today. Split Screen Podcast Episode 3 is is it. This is over. It's done. I'd love to hear suggestions for more topics you would like to hear us discuss. Hopefully I have somebody on the other side of the table with me next time. And if you want to leave us suggestions, leave us comments, questions, concerns, tell us that we're idiots, tell us that we hit the nail on the head, you can look us up on all the social medias. Facebook is Split Screen Podcast, and then Twitter is Split Screen KC, as well as Instagram, Split Screen KC. So you can follow us on there, give us likes, do what you got to do, leave comments. We would love to hear from you and talk to you guys. And we'll see you guys in the next episode of the Split Screen Podcast, episode 4. Who knows what we're going to talk about? I don't know. Probably going to be decided maybe 10 minutes before we record. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. My name is Chris Garcia. It's been a pleasure hosting you. And I hope you guys stay safe, wear a mask, get vaccinated, wash your hands, do all the good stuff. So stay safe, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I will see you in the next episode. Have a lovely day.